Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 4 of the series. In the last video, we tested the BulkOps app, and it looks like everything is working. So now we're going to take a look at the code, fix the bad code, close the security breaches, and sort out the performance issues. Let's start with refactoring. Right now we have two index files, index.tsx in the source folder, and another one in source/frontend. And they are huge. 520 lines and 1068 lines respectively. That's way too much for one file. You open it, scroll for 10 seconds, and still haven't found what you were looking for. Not great. For me, this is one of the biggest problems with the codebase right now. Before we even start looking for bugs or performance issues, we need to be able to actually read the code, and right now we can't. I asked Claude to do the refactoring. All right, now let's see what Claude actually did. The first thing I notice, index.tsx from the source folder has been split into multiple files, grouped under two folders, resolvers and services. Let's look at the resolvers folder first. There are 4 files here: bulk operation resolvers, preset resolvers, scheduled resolvers, and utility resolvers. Each one handles exactly what the name says: bulk operations, preset CRUD, scheduled operations CRUD, and helper resolvers like fetching priorities and transitions. Now let's look at the services folder. This is where the actual business logic lives. 6 files: history, Jira, licensing, operations, presets, and scheduled. Each one with a single clear responsibility. Now let's look at the front-end folder. It's also split by responsibility. 3 subfolders, 1 per module. The global page folder contains the UI for the global page. The admin page folder contains the UI for the admin page. And the issue navigator folder contains the UI for the issue navigator action. And there's also a shared folder. That's where the code used across multiple pages lives, like common form fields and helpers. Clean separation. Each Forge module has its own place in the code, and anything that's reused sits in shared. All right, the refactoring looks good. Now let's fix the security breach. If we open the scheduled resolvers file, which is called from the admin page, you'll notice something. There's no check that the user calling it is actually an admin, which means any regular user can call this resolver directly and create, modify, or delete scheduled operations. That's a classic escalated permissions bug. The UI is only shown to admins, but the backend doesn't care. It just runs. And the backend is what matters here. UI level restrictions are not security, they're decoration. If the resolver doesn't check who's calling it, anyone can call it. So we need to fix it. I asked Claude to fix it, and Claude fixes it. 2 changes. First, Claude adds a new function called require admin in the Jira service. It hits the Jira My Permissions endpoint and checks if the current user has the administer permission. If they don't, it throws an error. Simple and to the point. And then in every scheduled resolver, save scheduled preset, delete scheduled preset, Claude adds an await require admin call right at the top before anything else runs. So now if a non-admin user tries to call these resolvers, they get rejected before they even reach the license check. All right, now let's go further. I asked Claude to look through the code and find any other security issues or bugs. And actually, it found 3 more. 2 of them I had in mind myself. First one, the schedule trigger uses API.asUser, but scheduled triggers have no user session. They run on a schedule, not in response to a user action. So asUser will either fail silently or throw an error. It needs to use asApp instead. And this was actually one of the 2 I had in mind myself. Second one, and this was the other one I had in mind. The preset CRUD has no admin check. Save preset and delete preset are shared globally, which means any paid user can delete anyone else's preset. Not great. Claude asks, do I want admin-only access or an ownership model where users can only delete their own presets? I go with the ownership model. Users create their own presets. Only they can delete them. Cleaner. And the third one, and this is actually the one I didn't have in mind, no input validation on preset and scheduled data. Save preset and save scheduled preset accept arbitrary objects from the front end and store them directly in KVS. A crafted payload could store oversized or malformed data, which is a fair point. Anyone who can call the resolver can put garbage in the database. So I asked Claude to fix all 3. Ownership model for presets, asApp for the scheduled trigger, and proper input validation everywhere. And Claude fixed all 3. Let's move on. Now let's look at how we select issues. And here's the problem. The resolver only returns 200 issues. Anything beyond that, ignored. So if a user selects a JQL filter that matches 500 issues, they only get the first 200. Silently. Now the obvious fix is pagination. Fetch the issues in batches and keep going until you have them all. But there's a catch. When a resolver is called from the UI, Forge gives it 25 seconds to complete. And fetching thousands of issues plus running a bulk operation on them, that's not going to fit in 25 seconds. So straight pagination would eventually hit that limit and time out. Scheduled jobs are a different story. They get up to 900 seconds. So for the scheduled flow, we can leave it as it is for now. It has plenty of time. But for the interactive flow called from the UI, we need to think about this differently. Let's see what Claude suggests. Claude's first suggestion was to use the Forge Async Events API. And on paper, it sounds clean. Push the job to a queue, a consumer function picks it up, runs for up to 900 seconds, no timeout problem. But when I started thinking through it, there were too many problems. First, the consumer runs under asApp, not as user, which means we lose the user's permissions. And the whole reason we fixed asApp in the last video was exactly that. We don't want the app modifying issues the user can't even see. So if we go async, we'd have to add our own permission checks on every single issue, effectively re-implementing what Jira gives us for free with as user. Second, the operation is no longer synchronous, so we'd need a whole machinery for it. The resolver pushes the job to a queue and returns a job ID. A consumer picks it up from the queue and starts running the bulk operation. As it goes, it writes progress to KVS. How many issues processed, how many failed. Meanwhile, the front end has to poll KVS every few seconds to read that progress and show it to the user. A lot of moving parts for what should be a simple bulk update. So I suggested a simpler approach. What if instead of running the Jira calls on the back end, we move them to the front end? The UI already runs in the browser. It already has access to request Jira through @forge/bridge. It already runs as the user. No 25-second timeout because it's not a Forge function. It's just HTTP from the browser. And we get real progress for free because we know exactly how many requests have completed. Claude liked the idea. I asked Claude to implement it, and it was done. I also noticed something else. Right now, when we update issues or transition them, we're doing it one by one. So if a user runs a bulk operation on 500 issues, we're making 500 separate API calls. Not ideal. And Jira actually has proper bulk endpoints for this. The bulk issues fields endpoint for field updates, and the bulk issues transition endpoint for transitions. Both of them accept up to 1,000 issues in a single request, which is obviously much better than hitting the API once per issue. So I asked Claude to switch over to the bulk endpoints, and Claude did it much better. One more thing. While I was at it, I also added a few more paid operations. Bulk move issues between projects, bulk watch and unwatch, and bulk delete. 3 solid features that fit naturally in the paid tier. More value for paid users, more reasons to upgrade. Alright, let's recap. We refactored 2 monolithic files into a clean structure with resolvers and services. We fixed a security breach where non-admin users could call admin resolvers. We added an ownership model for presets, so users can only delete their own. We switched the scheduled trigger from as user to as app. We added input validation across the board. We moved bulk operations to the front end to dodge the 25-second timeout and added pagination for issue fetching. And finally, we switched to Jira's bulk endpoints and added 3 more paid operations: move, watch and unwatch, and delete. At this point, I don't see any more high priority issues. The app is actually in pretty good shape. In the next video, we're going to add automated tests. And honestly, I'd love to hear what you think. What would you suggest to test first? Unit tests on the services? Integration tests on the resolvers? End-to-end tests running against a real Jira instance? Write in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you'd prioritize.